I'm Heather.
And I'm Desiree.
And you're listening to
the Perpetually Overdue Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Perpetually Overdue Podcast. My name is Heather.
And I'm Desiree.
And today's episode is a continuation in a series of bookish episodes. We did talk about it in our Pet Peeves Part 1 and 2 that the next book video we would do would be focusing on what we like about books. So not just complaining about what we don't like.
Yes.
Although I think a lot of people agreed with some of the things that we said in those pet peeve videos. We got a lot of interaction on TikTok in particular where people were also sharing their pet peeves and commiserating with some of our points, especially about Divergent. I was actually really surprised how many people were like up in arms. That series, it affected a lot of people.
It did. It was in the peak of like YA dystopian era, which I miss. And it was such a pivotal like mid 2000s era that it was just the favorite of so many people. It started out and then it ended so tragically with anger that I think it just affected us all in really dramatic ways.
It did. It was peak, and I still feel like it weirdly enough, it was at the peak time of YA, but at least for me as a reader, it was the beginning of my YA journey. So for me, that first love, that first book, you know, you never really forget it, and the disappointment that came with it.
After being invested for so long and really anticipating, and it was probably one of the first like full-on trilogy experiences I had in a long time. So even more so, being a part of this journey of characters, for it to have ended the way it ended after I felt like I invested so much emotion and time into this journey, it was just damn.
The anger, the disappointment, the heartache, it had it all.
It was the full stages of grief.
It really was. I was bargaining at the end, like, no, you're not.
Yep.
Please don't. I'll do anything. Don't do this.
I remember I closed, as it was happening, I closed the book and I was like, no, right? Like, it's not, what's happening isn't happening because I'm not okay with it and I don't want to continue, but I feel like I have to now. Yeah. But I'm pissed because I don't like where this is going.
That's the denial phase. I will say it was my first trilogy because I had read book series before, but they were always continuing series. Like The Babysitter's Club was a continuing series, and one didn't really build off of the other as much. Like Nancy Drew novels, things like that. You can read them in isolation and not feel like you're missing out on huge storylines and plot points, whereas with a trilogy, I mean, obviously it's meant to be read consecutively and not to be skipped over unless the perspective changed, which, oh, by the way, so weird story, this is a sidebar, and it's I haven't told Desiree, so this is like you're getting the reaction live. Me and my husband went to go get a pedicure. We were doing some self-care because it's a hellscape out there. This woman was sitting next to me reading a book. She was like probably looked to be in her late 30s, early 40s maybe. It's hard to judge. I don't really like
these days.
I don't really like saying people's ages, but about around our age or older, I would say. And guess what book she was reading?
Which?
She was reading the Shatter Me series, but the continuation of it.
No way.
So I was like, is that Shatter Me? Because I recognized just the book cover, like the colors and everything.
Those covers are so distinct and gorgeous and stand out. Yeah.
They really do. So I didn't even see the title. And then she showed it to me, and I could tell by the title that it was part of the continuation. And I was like, I love that series so much. I'm so hesitant to continue reading it because I don't want her to tear apart this couple that has meant so much. And she's like, it's rough. She was in the middle of the second book from the continued trilogy. Because I don't know at what point she was in the book, but she's just like, I'm hoping that some resolution is going to come. I have a feeling that it's not. So they go through it, but we're hoping that by the end of it, that everything is good. But
I don't know if I even want to go through that journey.
I know. But I did buy a book that she recently put out. Did you know? This is what ties to what we were talking about earlier for people who are listening and like, what's the point? You know how in the Sarah J. Maas series, I'll just say ACOTAR, because reading the whole title is exhausting. There are books that you can read in isolation because they're interconnected from another perspective.
Yeah, they're interconnected standalones where it's still in the same world and people, but it's a different protagonist and
yeah. You might spoil some things for yourself, obviously. For example, Freya, if you've never read her journey, you're going to know things about her and other characters. Exactly. She put one out with the Shatter Me series.
Who?
Adam and Warner's little brother is all grown up now, and he now has his own love story.
What?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Instantly bought it.
See that, because that's safer. Because it's like it's fresh, a new like emotional journey.
Yes.
Where it's like you can still keep in your mind, this is fine. We're keeping this in where it is.
Yes.
So you're in the world you enjoy, but okay. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, and I don't have it on any of my shelves around me, but I'll text it to you.
Yes.
The picture of the cover.
Please.
Anyways, so this long-winded intro.
What is today's episode about?
Today's episode is tropes that attract us to books. We're talking like before we ever read it, we're just reading the back cover, and then we get that instant like, oh, this is a story that I'm going to want to read. And a lot of the times it's based on common tropes that we just happen to be attracted to. So that's what we're going to talk about. But for those who don't know what a trope is, what is a trope?
So a trope, especially as someone who writes and reads romance, it is like pivotal that you lean into tropes for readers' expectations and marketing purposes. But every book and story has a trope. There's even what they call micro tropes. So they're even like smaller. I'll give examples later. But basically a trope is and I'm looking over here because I want to properly define this. It is a plot, theme, or device used often enough that it's become a genre convention. So tropes are what we expect from a story. And more times than not, you understand the tropes you are getting even before you read a story. Basically, a trope is a promise to the reader. It's highly surrounded by reader expectation, which you do again want to lean into. Tropes are a staple of the genre, depending what genre you're reading, and they're a frame for the story and the character's journey, basically within that story. And they are not the same as cliches. A lot of times people will say certain things within a story, let's say a love story, has cliche moments, or that is not the same as a trope. The trope has more to do with the structure of the story as a whole and the journey that the characters are taking. And so again, micro tropes then within the romance genre have become more popular. Readers expect sometimes to get little tidbits. And I like how this person put it on their blog. They called micro tropes like single scene goodies. So they're these little goodie moments that make you go within a scene that you love, that you eat up. If you still feel a little confused as we break down the tropes we like and the micro tropes that we love within stories, you'll become more familiar and realize that you gravitate towards certain tropes without even realizing that you loved these tropes to begin with.
Totally. I will say that there are certain genres, like Desiree said with the romance genre, it is recommended, encouraged even, to lean into tropes. Not all genres are like that, I will say. Sometimes people complain about common conventions within a genre. They're looking for something fresh, something new, something yada yada. But a lot of the times these conventions, these tropes is what made the genre what it is, and it's what made it so popular to begin with. Not all of the tropes are going to be ones that are likable.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people find certain tropes to be problematic, even.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not saying that tropes are always a good thing, but in certain, like Desiree said, in certain genres, it's what the reader wants to see. It's what they're looking for. It's what they gravitate towards. And I know for me, I gravitate towards certain things depending on the genre that I am reading. I read multiple genres.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I'm looking for certain things. When I pick up a book and I read the back of it, I want to see those things hinted at, insinuated, so that I can go, ooh, this is something that I might be interested in. And then there are other ones where I pick it up, I look at the back, and I go, oh, like for example, with horror, I was like, oh, it's a haunted house trope. This book is about haunted. Just because. And maybe this can help with the difference between the tropes and the cliches. Just because I know that with the haunted house trope, there are cliches that they lean into that I don't personally care for.
And that's okay. That's the beauty of it. Yeah. Knowing what you like and don't like. And luckily, as a writer, you're providing, again, an expectation to the reader, and people can choose the parts that they enjoy, and the ones they know they don't, they can move on.
Yeah. Like for example, I will still read the back of the book if it's talking. I'll still read the full description. It's not like I go, "Oh, it's about a haunted house," and I just put it back. But the cliche that I don't like seeing is that the house usually represents some sort of family trauma. The house is a symbol for the family. It's been done so many times that I'm like, I want a different haunted house story. Something that doesn't have to do with the family that's living in the house and some sort of psychological or physical or even sometimes sexual abuse that's going on. It's very... If you've ever read Edgar Allan Poe, it's very Fall of the House of Usher. You know, in that story, the brother and sister are having an ancestral relationship, and that relationship is paralleled in the condition of the house, which is essentially falling apart and decaying. And then by the end of the story, this is not a spoiler alert because this is classic literature. The house topples and breaks apart as the relationship between the brother and sister break apart as well. So
funny enough, before you mentioned that, I actually thought of Flowers in the Attic.
I just learned about that story.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's too much.
It's intense. But funny enough, it has similar themes to the Edgar Allan Poe story. And the house that all of this happens in very much carries throughout the books and history. And I think something happens to the house even. And so, yeah, that's interesting.
It's a lot of incest, and it's a lot of incest. Granted, listeners out there, if you have a good haunted house story that doesn't have to do with the family trauma cliche, I would be more than happy to receive those recommendations. But a lot of the times, that's kind of what it is. And I think that haunted house stories in books don't always, I'll preface by saying don't always, not making a blanket statement, translate as well as movies and TV.
I hear that. But let's talk about what we love.
Yes. Let us do that.
What are some tropes that you are just like
tickled for?
There were so many different terms I could use, and I was like, how PG do I want to keep this?
That is fair. Let's start with romance, just because we both have read, well, I have read dark romances. I don't know if I've read any other than when I was doing sensitivity reading. I did read a contemporary romance with sensitivity reading, and I actually thought it was pretty good. And the main character was a woman of color. She was Latin, so I was very excited about that. But not a lot of contemporary, more dark romance. But the tropes can carry through. Even if it's a subgenre of romance. I love a good enemies to lovers story, maybe.
Classic.
Especially when the female character really gives it to the guy and has a backbone and doesn't take his shit and is witty. The banter is so sexy.
The banter. Good banter. Ooh.
Yes. You're a banter girl too.
I love banter. Yes. Even if it's not leaning into the enemies to lovers and there's just that contention that happens maybe just either at the beginning or even within the relationship. Yes. Banter's fun. It's fun to write. It's fun to read.
And it's fun to experience because, like, even in my own relationship, I can get really sassy at times. And there can be a little banter back and forth. And some of my sassiness has rubbed off on my husband. So we do sometimes engage in that back and forth. But in the context of the reading world and the writing world, it's amped up.
Yes.
A couple notches. We're talking like Lorelai Gilmore on steroids.
Yes.
That's the kind of the kind of banter that I like.
Yes.
The things that you're like, okay, in real life, nobody talks like that, or nobody is that sarcastic all the time, but it's fun to read.
Hell yeah. Especially because sometimes in person, you look back at certain conversations, you're like, damn, I wish I had thought of that or said that. Yes. Whereas in a book, you're always on top of it. The character, I love it.
I love it too. What about you? What is one of your romance tropes that you gravitate towards?
I have so many.
I know you do. I know you do. We probably won't get through all of them. We'll probably have a part 2 to this too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say this is almost like they kind of lean into each other, but I'll focus on one at a time. I love me a fake dating trope. I love when these two people have to, for whatever reason, help the other out and pretend to be in a relationship for family, for career, for something. And it's always the delicious, like, we're pretending, but oh my God, when he wrapped his arm around me, that felt nice. Oh, he has to kiss me because, we're in public and they're expecting a kiss or something. That didn't feel fake. Or all those little moments that the characters are fighting it, but they definitely are feeling each other, but they are trying to like stick to the agreement.
Keep it professional.
Yes, and there's an expiration date because it's only necessary for a certain time. And so when the feelings start happening, they're trying to lie to themselves and they're like, this is going to end in 2 months. Like, I have to not fall for him, blah, 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 blah. I love it. It can be cheesy as fuck and I love it. I eat it up. It's delicious.
That's very similar to the enemies to lovers because it's both people fighting their feelings because one is like, no, I'm supposed to hate you. The other one is like, no, this is just a contract, so to speak. And it's always fun too because depending on how the book is written and whose perspective it's in, you're going along the journey with this character of like, well, how does the other person feel? And do they have feelings? And the character is wrestling with that, going, maybe it's just one-sided, maybe it's just me that feels it, but the way that he looked at me this one time or the way that he did this thing it messes with your brain. And we've all been through that in dating, especially at the beginning of dating when you're just getting to know somebody, you're in the talking stage and you're kind of like, what are they thinking? How do they feel? Like, are they feeling as intensely as I'm feeling, kind of
Was that a friendly hug? Did they get butterflies too?
I know.
Oh gosh. And it's fun because sometimes those tropes actually combine together. Sometimes there are fake dating books that actually have enemy to lovers protagonists. So it even adds more layers to the situation.
Yeah, because then they're wrestling their feelings even more because they're like, no, I'm supposed to hate him.
Exactly.
You mentioned that this went hand in hand with something else. What was that?
So the other one that I adore so much is
the octave of her voice changed. It got deep and sexy all of a sudden.
I love it. I heard it after I said it. It's a marriage of convenience. Oh my God. Which is very close to fake dating in the sense that it is way more intense, which is why I love it because the stakes are so much higher. And so a lot of times it's a whole like career, political, blah, blah, blah. Like, I need you. And if you agree to this marriage of convenience for 6 months or a year, I get my inheritance. I'll pay you to save your sick parent, save your inheritance. Like, there's so many crazy reasons that is so unrealistic that these two people agree to marry each other and are completely pretending that it's a real marriage, but behind closed doors they're pretending that they're not feeling anything. Sometimes they'll try to do separate rooms, but I love when for whatever reason they're forced to also share the bedroom because they have to keep the
one bed.
Yes. that's another trope. And so I love when, oh my God, I just love the emotional tug and pull and tension, the sexual tension, because these two people are outwardly married and have to act like it in public, but pretending that they don't feel anything in private. And I just, oh my goodness. And I'm up all night reading.
The fact that they're married and they have to act like a couple. I mean, same thing with dating.
Yeah, that's why they're like very close together.
It forces them to be in those situations. Whereas I feel like with an enemies to lovers story, you have to kind of create those situations out of thin air because they're not in a fake dating relationship. So why would they be affectionate with each other? Why would they have these moments? It's like the trip and fall moment and he catches her kind of thing. That's kind of like, those are the moments you have to create, and those can be in any of these tropes, but
absolutely
I feel like it's more poignant in the enemies to lovers because they're not going to get all those opportunities where they have to hold hands, they have to kiss each other. It makes me think of The Proposal.
Yes.
With where they were forced to kiss each other in front of everybody. And they're like if you're into K-dramas, that's a very common one where it's like a forced because the culture there very much lends to two people having to be forced into like a marriage with each other. Sometimes arranged marriage, or like you said, a marriage of convenience, like maybe billionaire type person. There's like a reason why they need to get together. But also when this started to become popular within just social media or whatever, do you ever scroll on social media? This is more like on Instagram than I think on TikTok. You get all those ads for those really cheesy, they take the storylines of a lot of these romance books and then they film them with very
I thought it was only on TikTok. I didn't know it was on Instagram because that's all I see it on.
It's Instagram,
is TikTok. Yeah.
I even downloaded one of them. It's annoying though because they make you pay.
Yes.
They break it up into like 2-minute clips.
Yep.
And then they make you pay, and I'm like, look, let me be honest. The acting is very subpar.
Yes, it is.
The costuming is sometimes horrific.
Especially when it's like a paranormal situation.
The sets are recycled. And whoever wrote this script, in the trash. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you should just take but I guess it's obviously you need the rights to take a book, an existing book. I was like, you need to go
it's more expensive,
but you need to reach out to these romance authors because they would write you a script that is actually quality.
Because the one thing that pisses me off, I have seen so many of them. They all have terrible half-ass endings. After the whole emotional journey that actually sucked me in, as cheesy as it was, the endings have never fucking been satisfying. Never. I always end up angry. I'm like, this is how you ended it? This is how you finally wrapped everything up? I've waited this whole time. That's it?
I know. The endings are terrible. The men are irredeemable. Like, you think that toxic men in books are bad? These are awful.
These are awful. There's one actor in particular who they have reused so many times. He always plays the most irredeemable men like male love interest. I'm like, absolutely not.
Oh my God. There's one that for the life of me, he is beautiful, don't get me wrong, he's a very gorgeous guy. He is the most lifeless, monotone actor.
I feel like we have to compare and see if we're talking about the same people later, because I feel like we probably are.
Oh God, I've never seen him play
over and over.
They do. I've never seen him play really terrible characters. He has been a dick on occasion, but like this guy, I'm like, oh my God, can you tell your face to do something? Your voice is so flat, and it just made me realize not everybody can act. I don't care how pretty you are.
Yeah, because if we're talking about the same guy, he's a very good looking man. Very good
looking. Yeah,
but it's very it's just flat.
It's so bad. And the plot holes, I will never forget. I just have to get this one out there, and then we can move on. I promise you. I will never forget. And the thing is too is that they will remake the same story over and over again with different actors. And I'm like, I'll be watching it And it's not just the trope of like, I'm gonna marry a billionaire. It's the exact same plot. It's the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I've seen repeated over and over again is, and this is also a K-drama thing, where the guy, the husband, will be in a marriage of convenience, right? He has genuine feelings, she has genuine feelings, but he doesn't believe that she does. He thinks that she's just there for the money. Then there's always some toxic ass bitch in the wings.
Yes.
Who takes up every single minute of his time.
Yep.
Pretending to be helpless, pretending to be sick. She sees through the bullshit, knows that it's a lie, because when he's not around, she's awful to the girl, to the wife. He only married you because of this, this, and this, and all this stuff. I'm like, girl, get a clue. If he wanted you, he'd be married to you right now. But she does everything she can. There's one in particular where each of the girls in the story had a child. And the husband is a firefighter. And he just it drives me insane. He is always running off to help this woman and her child because he had some friend that died and he was a close buddy and he asked him to look out for his... Exactly. They end up in the same building and the building collapses, right? And the daughters are trapped, both of them. And he comes in and he's like, he sees his daughter. He sees that she's trapped under all of this rubble, but the other woman is calling to him, come save my daughter, come save my daughter. So he leaves his daughter still in the rubble. To go rescue the other girl, and then his daughter ends up dying, right?
Oh no.
But this is the part that I am so infuriated because they have such a lack of plot that they drag that part on for forever. This man never checks in on his daughter for days, doesn't know that she's dead. Right, because he's too busy with the other woman and her daughter, and they're being at the hospital and her always needing him because she has no one, right?
Gosh. No.
Meanwhile, he never checks on his daughter, and the wife is so angry and so hurt. She doesn't tell him. She doesn't tell him that his daughter is dead. Her birthday's coming up and he keeps telling her, I'll be there for her birthday. Mind you, and I'm like, does this man not come home every night to sleep? Where is this man sleeping that he has not seen you or his daughter for days and has no clue that she's dead? Doesn't find out until he walks into the door of the home and sees that they're having a wake for his dead child.
Sorry.
And he's holding a 99-cent stuffed animal that is supposed to make it all better, which dramatically drops to the floor when he realizes that his daughter's dead. And I am like, who would believe this shit? That for days?
Yeah, no. But we're going back to things we don't like. We need to focus on the episodes.
I said that was the last one.
Tropes we love.
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
It's not in the romance per se. It's actually in horror. What I do like in horror, what attracts me, is the promise of one of two things. I like the cryptid trope, so that there's going to be a cryptid is like Bigfoot, the Mothman, some sort of supernatural, otherworldly creature.
Okay.
I love cryptid stories. And a lot of the times they are tied in with this other one, which is folklore. I love a good horror folklore story.
Okay.
That really feeds into the trope of like, we're in the woods, we're in the Appalachian Mountains, we're in this small town somewhere, and there's a creature that's living in the mountains, or there's something odd going on in this place, and it has to do with some sort of folklore of some kind.
Blair Thumb.
Yeah. Honestly, the Blair Witch, where that came from,
yes.
The satire of it, for those who might not know, that actually does have a lot to do with folklore, because it was a really small town. There was this witch that lived out in the woods somewhere, supposedly kidnapping children, all of this stuff. That's my shit. I love that. I love a good folklore story, a good cryptid story.
Nice.
Anything like that.
Ooh. For me, a lot of them end up being very close together to the same thing because, again, the forced proximity or the one bed trope, again, all of these lend to each other. Forced proximity is like, oh, we're snowed in, your car broke down, I, got you out of your car, but there's a snowstorm, so we're stuck in my cabin for the foreseeable future, and damn it, I only have one bed. I'll pretend that I'm going to sleep on the couch, but somehow he ends up not on the couch anymore.
Because she's like, don't be ridiculous. Just get in the bed.
Exactly. So I love all that shit. Because again, anything that's gonna force the couple together faster, I love it. Especially because it's the tension, it's the tug and pull, it's the trying to deny what you're feeling for XYZ reasons. There's so much that can be played with there.
Yeah.
And again, that's the beauty of tropes, especially in the romance genre, is that as a reader, when you promise it, we know what we're getting.
Yeah.
We're getting something we love in whatever unique way you tell it.
Yeah.
Because again, there's no new story under the sun. So it's a matter of putting your unique spin on different things that have been done before, told before, formulas.
How we get there.
Exactly. And so one bed trope, forced proximity, marriage of convenience, fake dating, all those fun. I love it.
Another one that I really like to deal with a different genre. If I'm going to do like either adult sci-fi or action adventure or YA, I've realized that I gravitate towards a female savior trope. I love it when the girl saves the world. I love it when, Divergent was like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Hunger Games is like that. A lot of the stories that we read in YA where it's a female character, it all comes down to her. Like, she's the chosen one, the special one.
Juliet, yeah.
She brings down the establishment. I love that. That's what I look for. It doesn't always have to be a female, but obviously since I am a woman, I like to see myself in this character. And I obviously relate more to female characters. And honestly, in an YA, I feel like there's more female heroines than there are male heroines.
That is interesting. Yeah, it's true. That is very true.
And it might be because a lot more teenage girls are reading YA than teenage boys. And don't get me wrong, there's The Maze Runner, for example.
Yeah.
That was a male lead. And I loved that book. I read that entire it infuriated me. That was one of the only series I read that I threw the book across the room because I was like, this is too much. You can't put these characters through any more.
Ready Player One is another one.
Ready Player One is, there are
tons.
Quite a few out there. And then you have the adult fantasy, big authors for Sanderson being a huge fantasy author that a lot of male lead. But yes, I love the female savior. I love the female heroine. Because I love a badass bitch.
Same.
And the fact that she has some sort of special ability or some sort of destiny of some kind where it all hinges upon this one person. Children of Blood and Bone is like that as well. I could name a bajillion series that are like that. But yeah, that's one.
You made me think of one. So when it comes to anything like paranormal, sometimes sci-fi, I love fated mates. Again, as a romance writer and reader, I adore that it's like fate is saying, you're the only one for me, I'm the only one for you, and not even in a forced way, like they feel it.
Yeah.
It's not just because fate deemed it.
The Lux series.
Yes! It's just, and then for those who probably know it by now, Ruby Dixon's Blue Barbarians, the aliens.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very much, they have, gosh, it's been too long since I've read one of them. I need to do a reread. Is it Resonance that she calls it? It's a parasite technically because they are in this planet that is extremely harsh winter weather. And so when they land there, a bunch of humans got trafficked, basically, because it's mostly women, but not only. Mostly women got trafficked from Earth, sent to this, they crashed on this frozen planet where all these blue barbarian species live. And in order to survive the harsh climate, you have to get a very specific parasite that is within certain animals. And
gross.
I know it, which freaks obviously a lot of the women out.
Yeah.
A lot of them are like, do not put that shit in me. But literally you'll die without it.
Yeah.
And so when it is put in you, your eyes actually glow blue. And now your body can handle, you don't get as cold.
You acclimate.
Exactly. So because of that, what they call the cooey, it actually, I know. It's thing.
It's so close to cooties.
One of the girls calls it that as a joke. I love Ruby. Ruby's fantastic, the writer. That's her pen name, by the way. It's not her actual name. But she, the Cooey, it actually finds the other one that it deems is going to be your fated mate that you will, and on a scientific base, you're compatible to procreate with each other. So, but then obviously there's emotion, attraction, all these things that happen. The characters fight it because obviously some of these women are like, I am not going to fall for a 7-foot alien blue man. Kind of like alien D. But obviously you can't fight it eventually. But anyways, the whole fated mate aspect, as you see, the way Ruby does it is maybe a little different than a lot of paranormal, werewolf shifter, vampire shifter type things.
The werewolf is huge.
Oh, I love it.
The fated mate werewolf
They're so
ones.
feral, it's glorious.
I know. And that's why I like dark romance, because I love a good feral man.
Hell yes, same.
That's another trope. I love a good feral man who is very protective, but still allows her to be her own person, to be independent, to be strong, to be feisty. In fact, it attracts him more.
That she's not,
that she's not a pushover. I love that trope because, again, I am all about a strong, badass female character and not somebody that doesn't have a backbone. So I want a man who is, I mean, not to be vulgar, but practically gets a hard-on for her just being this badass character. But yeah, the werewolf ones are a huge fated mates one. I do love that when there's, have you ever seen Hotel Transylvania? The cartoon?
Pieces, not the full thing.
Okay. Well, they call it the Zing. They have a Zing moment.
Ooh.
Where they see each other for the first time and they call it a Zing. It's a Zing that happens. And that is very much, funny enough, within that fated mate type of feeling where something's going on the inside that's out of your control, that's like, it's that person. And it's always fun too in the werewolf one specifically, especially if it's like an alpha and he's fated to like a beta female or an undercover alpha female. Like they think she's a beta but she's not, and he's like, no, I'm an alpha, I have to think about my pack. And
well, it's even more so the ones who fall for a human and they're like, no, that's not allowed,
that's completely forbidden. I will say this, you're gonna have to give me a suggestion for a good one of those, because all I've ever seen are the videos of them, and they're so terribly acted and they're so terribly done.
Oh my god. And there are some good darker ones too that I feel like you could eat up. Ooh, I gotta get some recommendations going. Yes.
Homework. I do like that too. Akatar is like that. Because where she is at the beginning in the first book with Tamlin, but that's not her mate. But she chooses to be with him and he chooses to be with her, and they're in love with each other, which that is one of the tropes that I don't necessarily mind, depending on how it's done, is if the girl is with someone that she's not really destined to be with, and then she finds her mate. But for me, it has to be done in a very specific way.
Yeah. For me, it can't be done at all.
I know.
I am very much a fated mate-minded type person where it's like, just you, no one else. I don't want to know it. It doesn't exist. And that doesn't mean I'm not up for, like, sometimes there'll be dramas I read in romance where there's like other woman scenario, where it's not that they are with her, but they either were once and she's back and trying to take over again or win them over. Or I don't mind the tension of another potential love interest or past love interest, but if you take me through a whole emotional journey with two people and they're not endgame, I just feel like I wasted my time. And that's a personal thing. It's not about the story being good or not. That has nothing to do with it. I personally, there are too many books in the world. I just want to read the ones that
you like.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, doesn't say Jessica Akatar.
You don't have to go into this whole thing.
No, sadly, I feel like I do.
But you did already.
I know, but because it happens a lot when people bring up Akatar, they assume because I don't want to read it that I think they're bad stories or poorly written. No, I just know what I like, and I don't like stories where I'm going to be put through emotional journeys with two characters that are not going to be endgame.
That's why I said specifically, because for me, I would rather that be resolved within the first portion of the book rather than have an entire book about two people. And then I didn't mind it as much with Akatar because you kind of could see how he wasn't right for her from the beginning. But they did build them up enough to where you cared about them together. Some people, again, based on your own preferences, were like about him from the beginning. But I do agree. I don't really... And as far as Akatar goes, I know that we all worship at the altar of Sarah J. Maas. I personally ended up getting bored with the series and didn't finish it. It's very long.
It's very long.
I'm a little bummed to find out that the Fourth Wing series, which I read and loved, that it is not going to be a trilogy.
I feel like the publishers are wanting to make her the next Sarah J. Maas because that wasn't the decision in the beginning to have such a long series. But they were like, well, you gained so much popularity, we can make you the next SJM. So let's keep going.
But some stories need to end where they end. I feel like if you end up stretching it out, this applies to all media because I really appreciate when a show will have a very specific ending. For example, Schitt's Creek was a show that I loved very, very much. They chose to end it, not because their ratings were down and people didn't love it. In fact, a lot of people were really sad. Levy, not Eugene Levy, his son, Dan Levy. He said, we've said all we needed to say. These characters went where they needed to go. We're done. Same thing with Golden Girls. Bea Arthur, who plays Dorothy in Golden Girls, my favorite show. She was like, we've had 7 great seasons. It's time to end it. Stranger Things. We have a set amount of seasons to tell this story. We don't need to push it further and further and further.
Just
and a lot of times
of keeping it for ratings.
And a lot of the times the writing suffers. The story suffers.
Because you have to get more convoluted to keep going. And then you completely lose the foundation of what the story was that attracted viewers and readers from in the first place. I think the same thing. I haven't fully seen it to say with full authority, but Handmaid's Tale, they could have maybe kept going and they finally ended it. And my mom just started the series from the beginning recently.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And even she, I think it was the end of season 1, she was like, how can this continue? Like, this happened already, which felt like the whole point. So how are they going to keep going? So I told her, just stick with it. There's more that happens. But it's true. It's one of those things that you think after a certain time, you're going, you accomplished the thing. Now what are you going to do? And sometimes they take it too far for the sake of stretching something out just to keep it going when the story structure was solid in a shorter form than what media is used to doing now, which is keep it forever.
And that's the thing. I feel like it works with things like sitcoms where the storyline is not continuous and there's not a full story by the end of it. Me and my husband are watching X-Files. X-Files, every episode, it's about a different thing. Case. It's a new investigation. And that's why it went on for forever. That's why it came back. That's why they did movies with it. But something that has a beginning, middle, and end needs to end when it ends.
Exactly.
And for me, when trilogies came out, I thought that was a lot.
Yeah. Same, I remember. Yeah.
And then Sarah J. Maas was like, hold my beer.
12 books later.
Holy shit. And
see,
I don't think it needs to be that way all the time.
No, that's why I probably have some PTSD from stuff like that I didn't even realize, because as it is, I stopped reading trilogies and duologies and things like that. What I do like that's big in romance, which you kind of mentioned before, is interconnected standalones, which is what I love that romance authors are doing now, is that I can read a 12-book series, but each book is a different character, a new set of couples. And we're still in the same world, so we get to see our OG couple from book 1, the couple from book 2. We see them doing life with these people, because sometimes they're a sibling, a best friend, a cousin, a so-and-so.
Yeah.
But you get to stay in the world, but it's a fresh story every time.
Why do you think I got so excited about that new Shatter Me book? Because it's in the world.
Exactly.
Completely new story.
Exactly. That can go on forever. I love those, usually. But yeah, when it's one central character going through a 12-book journey, that usually feels dragged on to me.
It's true. And I think that's also why... Now, granted, ACOTAR does become somewhat of an interconnected series, but that's why I feel like with some of her other ones, and this is not a Sarah J. Maas bash party, by the way. I actually do like her as an author. I think she's a prolific writer to be able to write as much as she does,
and world build like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like it's not even a big thing. But knowing also, I'll just preface this, how young she was when she started writing these stories before she ever got a publishing deal is just... I mean, you can't knock that kind of talent. But I feel like that's also why you end up having to do 20 different love interests, because the series goes on for so long
you have to
that
keep it
you got to keep it fresh and interesting.
Diverse.
And exactly. Another trope that I really like, and I have a very specific book in mind, it's actually combines 2 tropes within horror, which is inclement weather, which is funny because you mentioned inclement weather with romance, but it's a completely different take on it.
Ooh, okay.
Whereas with inclement weather and romance puts 2 characters in a position to have to be
like snowed in,
isolated together.
Okay.
So it's more of like a tool, a means to get these 2 characters together. Inclement weather and psychological horror. Psychological horror is primarily what I'm attracted to, because a lot of horror deals with trauma and the psyche of the character. And so I'm attracted to that. And more specifically, I guess you can call this a microtrope, when they take things like racism or sexism and they completely spin it on their head. I can think of a movie. I don't know if it was a book previously, but the movie Hush. That's one where it's this woman who's deaf, and she's in her home, and there is somebody has broken into her home, but she doesn't know that this person is there because she's deaf. She can't hear anything.
I feel like either I saw it or I saw one like it.
It's a couple of them that are like that, where it doesn't outright talk about sexual assault, but it does touch on it in a different way. So for example, like that's sort of like an invasion of space, invasion of privacy. You could even put it in the category of maybe harassment, stalking, things of that nature. But instead of showing it in a very outright way, it does it more creatively, where it's almost symbolic of what a woman deals with and struggles with. There's this one film that had Carrie, God, what is her last name? She's married to the guy from Mumford and Sons. I know that doesn't help at all.
Carrie Mulligan?
Yes!
Ah!
Snaps!
Thank you.
She's in a movie where she goes on dates with men.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Young promising woman.
Yes. Yes. Those types of that would be considered psychological horror.
Yes.
So I like stuff like that. I've talked about in past episodes, Stephen Grant Jones talks a lot about race, but he does it in a way where he adds like vampires or some horror element, kind of puts it in a more creative, symbolic light.
I think you spoke about it during the Stigmas, the horror romance genre can't escape
episode. Yes, please go listen and watch that. There's a book called Echo. Thomas... He's not from the US, so his last name is kind of hard to remember. But it's called Echo. And it's about these 2 rock climbers that they are in somewhere in Europe, and they've scouted out a trip. Because with rock climbing, especially when you're doing it not in a confined setting like a gym, but you're doing it like out in the elements. You have to plan very carefully. You have to train. You have to do all that stuff. They go to do their typical climb, and when they get to the location, they see this mountain off in the distance that they cannot find on any of the maps. And there's something about it that is drawing them in. The mountain itself in this story is a character.
Ooh.
And there's something very ominous about it, and very alluring as well. And then you have a local town that is very odd. And they kind of know about the mountain. They kind of want people to stay away from it, kind of thing. The people act very strange in this town. I will just say that. But the main character, he sees it, he's intrigued by it, but his partner is like obsessed and was like, we have to go and do this climb. We have to go find this mountain. And this guy's like, but this is not what we came here for. We haven't prepared for it. We can't even find this on a map. He is still intrigued as well, but he's not as gung-ho about it as his partner is.
Something in his intuition's like,
a little bit. They end up, there's not really spoilers in here because this is all stuff you can read on the back of the book. They end up going and finding the mountain. As they're climbing it, it starts to disorient them. And they're climbing and they're climbing and they're like, surely we should have reached the top by now. And it gets to a point where he's like, we have to go back. Like, we have to climb down. Like, we can't keep going. An accident occurs and his partner dies, or he just falls and disappears. Like, and he also gets injured. And I won't spoil like the injury because it's a pivotal plot point. But through his injury, something comes in him from this mountain. And weird and strange things start happening around him. Even death starts happening around him. Because, like, it's almost like what this mountain represents. This mountain almost is like an ancient god, evil god of some kind. Even though that's never what is said, but it kind of has that feeling. So it's inclement weather because shit happens around this mountain and on this mountain. But it's also psychological because you question as the story goes if this is all in the guy's head. If this has to do with the fact that he starts off as a very good looking kind of guy, and because of his injury being on his face, it changes the way that he feels about himself, and he's worried about how other people are going to see his injury as well and how they're going to respond to him. But then there's other things that happen where you're like, well, other people are experiencing certain things too from him. So it teeters the line of like, is this in his head or is this really happening? Are these things coincidence? Like the things that happen where people die, are they coincidences, or is he the cause of it? Because whatever happened to him on that mountain is now inside of him. It's really good.
Ooh, trippy.
Yeah.
Mindfuck.
Yeah, psychological horror always kind of is a mindfuck. And I like this story particularly because you don't really see, like, the story about climbers and this mountain being sort of its own character. You don't really see that often in horror because, again, the haunted house trope. It's everywhere. You know, the dysfunctional family, the curse, everywhere. So it's kind of like the final girl is a huge trope, which I do like. I do like the final girl trope because I want the woman to survive. I want the woman who was smart and was always like, we shouldn't be doing this.
Exactly.
We shouldn't
How
be
about
here.
we not, guys?
You want her to survive because she was the only one that had any common sense in this group.
Which is actually very much like for gamers. Because here's the thing. I'm not a horror reader. I'm not much of a horror movie watcher. But I can't explain why. I am a huge horror game watcher. Yeah. So I love watching horror video games being played. I don't know why. It maybe started with my Resident Evil like upbringing and playing those games with my brothers and best friends growing up. And I don't know, I adored it. Silent Hill, Max Payne, we played all those types of games. So a popular one now that has a lot of those elements is Until Dawn. And
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think I told you a little bit of it when I was visiting, because I was watching it in the background one day, someone playing the game, and I was telling Nick that he needs to play that game.
Oh, that's where I heard it. Yeah,
I think he has it downloaded. He hasn't played it yet. So it's a choice-based game where your choices matter and change the story for each character, depending what you choose.
Cool.
And you have to try to not get all of them killed by the end of the game. So it's always about how many did you help survive by the end. And so a lot of people it has a lot of replayability because people will then go back to try to save everyone if they
make
ended
different
up killing
choices.
people. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that one has actually the weather, what did you call it?
Inclement weather trope.
That, because it's very much they're in the mountains during the snowy storm and there's no electricity and it's a whole thing going on. There is some psychological horror because you don't know what or who the enemy is because there almost seems to be 3 different dangers happening. And so you don't understand what is happening and you think you know where the danger is coming from, but then something happens that makes no sense that you're going, wait, is there more than one danger? What's happening? And there is a folklore element to it too, because of what it ends up being. I feel like you'll enjoy watching this. Anyway, so funny enough, there is also the end girl.
The final girl, yeah.
Yeah, the final girl. Because it's actually Hayden Panettiere's character. Really? She's the only one who has sense and logic. Everyone's doing stupid shit and she's just like, guys, so you want her to survive at the end because you're like, this is the only smart character in this entire group.
I get that. That's actually the inclement weather, now that I think about it, trope happens quite often because of people go hiking and then the weather gets bad and then they have to find shelter and the only shelter they can find is this abandoned house in the middle of the woods. Yes. Kind of thing.
Like or some shack falling apart.
Or somebody gets injured and they're like, our hotel is like all the way 16 miles and we're gonna take a shortcut through the woods. And it's always a bad idea.
Yep.
One more really quickly before we wrap up is I love cult tropes within horror. I love a good cult story.
Ooh. Those will make your skin crawl.
They do. They really, really do. And there's always some folklore attached to it, especially because they have to create some sort of history with the cult and a belief system with the cult. And so I'm thinking of this one particular movie. Again, I don't know if it's a book, but it's a horror movie where they go on a hiking journey, a group of guys who are doing it to honor their friend who died. And they have kind of drifted apart, so they're only coming back to do this hike for this. Somebody gets injured because they're arguing and, not getting along. They can't make it back to their hotel because it's super far away. They cut through the woods.
Oh no.
And through the woods they come to this house because then it starts to rain and it's dark and there's creepy things happening in these woods. They get into the house and then it gets into a cult later on in the story. But it's also psychological because at the same time, they're all individually dealing and grieving with their friend's death and how they played a part in it in some way, shape, or form. So it's really, really, really interesting. But yeah, I completely forgot. Like, cults is a huge thing in horror, and it's always very interesting and intriguing what these cults believe in, how they practice their beliefs. What they do in terms of like when they come across outsiders, because it's always a very closed community, and then the outsiders just stumble into it, kind of thing.
Again, video game lovers, it makes me think of Outlast 2, very much where they stumble into this very exclusive small town and there's some crazy shit that like takes place and it's very cultic in what like they created, the people, and
I love that. And for just so people know who are out there listening, all the books that we might have mentioned or stories might have mentioned, Echo is also a queer story for people who might be interested in that as well. But we'll definitely have to do a part 2 to this because there are so many more. And I know, endless. I mean, I saw Desiree's list, girl.
And I maybe got like 5% of it.
So we'll definitely do a part 2. But let us know what your favorite tropes are in any genre. Doesn't matter. Even if it wasn't mentioned in this video. We're a lover of all writing and all creativity. And we really need stories, especially now. So give us any recommendations. We'll be very interested to hear. We'll be engaging with you in the comments section.
Guys, make sure you head over if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, do all the YouTube things. Wherever you're listening to this podcast as well. Make sure you're either following, subscribing, and very importantly, if you could please leave us a review, makes a huge difference, helps the algorithm so that other people who would enjoy our content can also find us. This was a lot of fun. Heather and I, we've said it before, when it comes to books, when it comes to stories, when it comes to anything of that sort, we love it. We love to talk about it. We could talk about it endlessly. So by all means, let us know some of your favorite stories and tropes. And that's it. Until next week. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.